What are the Lawrences sniffing pre-race? Will Levi Kitchen's ribs be an issue at altitude in Denver? Why is Cooper Webb struggling with arm pump? And why is it when Benny Bloss starts going fast, he gets injured? I'm going to answer all that. Welcome into the Always Moto YouTube channel, brought to you by Lead Moto Australia and TechnicMotorsport.com. Let's talk suspension and TechnicMotorsport.com. If suspension service, setup, and tuning is your business, you want to work with quality components so you can trust that your clients will have zero issues with your work. Technic Motorsport is based in Sydney. They have been designing their own spring products for 2 decades now. They have a single source of CNC wound springs from the Netherlands that are produced under an ISO 2001 quality control. They have over 1,500 Technic motor springs that cover late model motocross and off-road bikes, and they are now in stock. Technic springs are available fast with same-day shipping on all orders completed by noon on business days, and Technic can send them anywhere. Shipping nationwide and internationally is no problem at all. TechnicMotorsport.com is super easy to navigate with a spring rate calculator and a currency converter to make your purchase experience a smooth ride. Check out TechnicMotorsport.com. Thank you for supporting the Always Moto YouTube channel. As always, I'm your host, David Hogan, the Australian physiotherapist who knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of Supercross and Motocross. Let's get to these topics mentioned at the top of the show and more ahead of this week's round 16 of the Monster Energy AMA SuperMotocross series from Denver. So what are the Lawrences sniffing? It's most likely smelling salts. In short, smelling salts stink like day-old urine. It's ammonia. And they wake you up because of a fight or flight response that triggers your body. So it's basically an adrenaline shot. So the Lawrences are just trying to be fully awake and energized from the moment the gate drops. Nothing illegal going on here. It's all above board from an anti-doping aspect, in case you were wondering. So what about Levi Kitchen and his ribs? Will he be ready to fight for the championship in Denver? In normal circumstances, you would expect that the 2 weeks since the injury to be enough, considering there was reportedly nothing wrong except for bruising. But don't trust those reports fully unless you read it yourself off the medical chart, because they like to hide stuff. But given this week is at Denver, and all you're going to hear on the commentary is references to being at altitude, this could be an issue for Levi. If he is already restricted, even a little, to take a full breath, then thinner air will take a bit more of that breath and make his ability to work just a touch more reduced. Let's hope he's fully healed and not impacted by a few less O2 molecules in the air in Denver. Cooper Webb, the king of the late race charge, is not able to push in recent weeks in the last laps of the race. He's fighting arm pump mid to late race. But why? Arm pump in general is from too much blood into the muscle. It goes in, it can't come out. It then causes pressure buildup, which compresses nerves and alters the sensations you get at your hands, making them essentially useless. But why is it happening now for Cooper Webb and not earlier in the season? But pushing hard early will make the blood flow in fast. Where he's used to steadily building into his race, warming and stretching the muscle nicely and slowly, letting the body adjust and move the blood in and out at an increasing rate, not just boom to begin with, he's not able to currently manage that as well as he has been. So when he's going hard from the get-go of the gate drop, the blood rushes in fast. Now, couple that with the psychology of the pressure to try and stay with or in front of Jet Lawrence. Those two factors he can't manage, and that's what's causing him to get arm pump at these points in the race, making him very less effective at the ends of the races, which he's been usually so good at. So how does Cooper Webb fix this problem? Well, I'm not an advocate for surgical interventions for arm pump. In short, I believe he has to work on this pre-season. It's not something you can gain speed advantages, particularly in the early stages of a race where intensity is such a key aspect. When you're mid-season, your body's adapted to the certain load that you're able to maintain at this point, and pushing it physically at this time of the year, it's going to have a physiological impact on your ability to perform. So maybe for Cooper Webb, he has to go back to the drawing board for 2025 in terms of Supercross and his pre-season leading in. And maybe he learns from this part of the season now and has a very different approach to the starts of his races in 2025 to try and avoid the arm pump that he's been fighting off at the ends of the races when he's been normally so good. Unfortunate news this week in the world of the liquid moly Beta Racing rider, the number 67, Benny Bloss. We've been in touch with Benny. Unfortunately, a midweek crash has left him with a broken collarbone and a broken forearm that's just below his elbow. It's horrible for timing for Benny. It seems to be a common theme in his career. Just when his speed and his results pick up, he ends up on the injured list. Plenty of speculation as to why here. One being his size. Obviously, when he hits the ground from any crash, there's a lot of him to go down. Fortunately, a bigger stature, more weight behind him, and generally bigger people have a bit more awkwardness to their falls, creating more chance of breaks, tears, sprains, bruises, all those sorts of things to overcome. The other factor to consider here for Benny is his size on the bike as his speed increases. As his speed increases, you obviously usually need to increase things like compression and rebound in your suspension settings. For Benny, that's going to be an exponential thing because of his weight compared to other riders. So there may be a point where his weight at that speed isn't supported as well because the bike hasn't progressed as much. And at some point, that will just cause him to crash more, which then in turn goes back to my first point there about his size. When he hits the ground, there's obviously a lot more of him to hit the deck. We just want Benny to figure it out because we love it when he's going fast. I'm quite surprised at how fast he has been going this year on the Beta. I've previously ridden that Beta in a pre-production test for the 450. It's not the fastest 450 out there, so I'm quite surprised how well Benny's been doing on that bike at this stage because it needs a bit more horsepower to it to get itself to the front of the pack. For Benny, he has had surgery already within 1 day of the crash. He was able to sort that out in Vail, Colorado. He's on the mend. Hopefully, he'll be back in time for the intended 3 races that the Beta team is going to do outdoors. I believe that's starting at Redbud. Hopefully, he'll be back by that point. He should have plenty of time for that recovery time. That's it for this week. We wish all the riders a speedy recovery as always. And if you want more in-depth reporting from me here at Always Moto, we have the podcast each week. Find the Always Moto podcast on your favorite podcast player or right here on the YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thanks for watching, guys and girls. Until next week, Lead Moto Australia, TechnicMotorsport.com. I'm David Hogan for Always Moto.